Hello YouTube, so I'm gonna talk about a previous ego death I had, which I mentioned a few videos ago, and I never really went into much detail about it because it was still pretty fresh in my mind, if that makes sense. And obviously ego deaths are very profound experiences which sometimes when there's still the raw emotion from it is still manifesting in your being, it's very hard to put words to just be able to describe it, I guess. But a lot of things happened on that night. So basically, a little backstory. I was at college and I thought, well, this person said that they could, they had some LSD. So I was like, okay, I'm a little bit skeptical because it's quite a hard substance to get around this specific area. But I was like, okay, I'll take my chances because I wouldn't mind having a trip, just see where it takes me. So I got the substance. I was upstairs and I was like, should I take it or shouldn't I take it? And I wasn't too sure, but I had this desire inside me to take it, but it was like a conflict at the same time where I was like, you probably shouldn't do this right now because your mum's going to be back soon, and yeah, that's probably not going to go down too well. Anyway, I took it, so already my mindset wasn't in the right place to be tripping. And when I took it, about 10 minutes in, I started thinking, so is this LSD you've got, Steph? So I've done a lot of research, so I know that LSD is supposed to be tasteless, and I've done it before, and I know the feeling of the come up and what it tastes like, which is like very slightly, like, you know, you put something in your mouth, but it doesn't taste like strong chemicals or battery acid or stuff like that. And this substance started to taste like that, like really strong, and I was like, okay, I know what substance this is. This is 25E-enbomine, which pretty much sent me crazy last year, like very crazy. I've had some extremely, every time I've took that substance without using it with MDMA has been a bad trip, what I would class as a bad trip, where it pretty much just sends me into this psychotic episode or something like that. So I've taken the substance, and I remember I came down here, I was in the kitchen. Over there, I was like, okay, I'll wash the pots. I'll do some stuff I don't usually do to try and like this was just before I came up. I thought, well, I'll do some good things because that's gonna make my trip better, isn't it? Because I'm helping out around the house a little bit. So I washed the pots. I talked to my sister for a little bit. I talked to my friends on Facebook, and I told them that I'm gonna turn off my phone for this trip and turn off Facebook and my Wi-Fi because I didn't really want to have any interferences while I was in the state, because if I saw, I don't know, I just didn't want, I wanted it to be about something that's inside my head and not influenced by the things around me. So I said to my sister, I want to be by myself a little bit. So I went upstairs. Actually, I started tripping when I was in the kitchen. I just started coming up. Everything started to look a little bit strange, and yeah, this was only about 20 minutes after I took it, maybe. And then it stayed like that, like really small amounts of visuals, a slight change in perception in the way I was thinking a little bit. Anyway, I went upstairs and I was like, right, I'm gonna meditate until I start peaking. And I sat with my eyes closed, and it was like my thoughts started going, and I was getting restless. I couldn't sit still, so I had to sort of take a break from meditating. Which meditating should be the best break you have, but not when you're on these substances that sort of want to drive you in the way that they want to take you. Like, you don't have much of a choice in the matter. You do what they want you to do. You don't want to be conflicting with yourself in these situations. Anyway, I thought I'd reached the peak. I was sat upstairs and I remember feeling like I need to do something. I'm not doing what I need to be doing. I'm just sat here. So I tried listening to music. That didn't really change anything. I tried watching some YouTube videos. That didn't really change anything either. I tried playing Call of Duty, and that didn't change anything. Anyway, in the end, I was like, okay, I'm going out. I need to go out. And my mum still wasn't home at this point, but which was a good thing, I guess. So while I was stuck in my headspace, and time was going so slowly, I remember that. It felt like I'd been tripping for like a few hours, and I remember just going out my house and feeling it felt so intense. I thought, okay, this is definitely the peak of my trip. And I remember just walking, and I was just thinking like, this could be the last time, Steph. This could be the last time you're alive. And that's such an irrational thought, but when you're on psychedelic substances, like every thought you have seems so real, and it seems like this is true, this is the truth, and all that stuff. So yeah, I got really, really stuck in my own head, and I remember walking around, and I went up the allotments because I thought, okay, there's not going to be people around here, it's going to be okay. And I remember just pacing backwards and forwards in the rain, just pacing and pacing and pacing. I was like trying to figure something out. I felt like something had to be figured out, and I didn't feel like a human anymore. I felt like my cat's here. Oi, go on, down. Okay, and I felt like I was just trapped in my body, like. It's sort of like a platonic view on things. Like I felt like my soul was trapped in my body and I was being held back in a way. And it was all very uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable feelings of like not knowing and having all these like negative thoughts like arising, and it was so strange. And I thought I must have been up at the allotments for ages, and I checked the time on my phone and it's like it's only been like 10 minutes and it felt like hours. So I decided to leave the allotments. I remember walking past the park, and walking made me feel a little bit better because it took my mind off things. But I was still in the state of like I can't be bothered to be tripping right now. I just don't want to be tripping. But I kept telling myself, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna get through it, it's not gonna last forever. And I remember at one point actually, when I was walking up the allotments, I was like, should I call an ambulance? What if I die? Should I? And then everyone's going to find me dead. And that's so irrational. But anyway, I didn't, which was thankful. I managed to rationalise with myself and say, okay, Steph, you're just tripping. This has happened before. You've been scared and you thought you were going to die, but you didn't. Really, the only thing dying within me was my ego, or the perception I have of what I think I should be. And I don't know, I was just really hypersensitive to everything. So I left the top of the allotment and I was walking up the road and there was a park on my right, and I was like, should I go play in the park? And I kept walking and walking. I got up to the gate and I just kept going straight forward. I didn't. Because the thought that was going through my mind was, it was getting pretty dark. It was like 8 o'clock at night or something. And like, I just thought that the people in the houses opposite the park were going to like call the police on me or something, because I don't know, I just thought I looked weird. I just thought it would be weird, or like people would get suspicious. Yeah, that was very strange. And so I keep going up past the park, and there was a gate, and this man started walking in the opposite direction. I sort of observed him, and I put my head down, and I was like, why am I putting my head down? I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a social anxiety thing, but I noticed he also did the same thing. And I thought, okay, what would be the right thing to do right now? So I put my head up and I said hello to him, and he said hello back. Because the thought that was going through my head as I was approaching this man was, what if he knows? What if he can see that I'm in a certain state? What if he calls the police? And obviously that didn't happen, because all of this stuff was going on inside my mind, and it wasn't being projected profoundly within my behaviour and within the way I was acting or walking. I was just being normal. So all of these anxious thoughts I was getting about people knowing something or people finding out. It was all inside my head, and this is actually quite a common anxiety trait with people who are sober. And I used to have pretty bad anxiety, but I sort of weared off, and I feel for these people who go through this negative ruminating thought pattern all day when they can't approach people without sort of tightening up and feeling stressed. Yeah. So that sort of like, that made me think a little bit about walking past the man and saying hello. I was like, okay, Steph, people don't know you're on a substance, it's gonna be okay. And I keep walking around the estates, I keep approaching cars, and I keep hearing noises around me. And I felt like there was people walking like behind me and stuff, and I kept looking, and there was no one there. It was just all the auditory hallucinations. And at this point, I was tripping really hard. Like I could, it was just so many like intense visuals. And I remember I got to the bike track, and it's just like a little dirt track about not very big at all, and there's a football field next to it, and then next to the football field there's this little seating area. And it was still pouring down with rain, and I thought I would just go sit over there. And I remember sitting on this bench, and there was rain dripping onto the thing, and I could hear it. It was like boom, boom, boom. It sounded so different, and like it was like it echoed inside of my mind, and every little sound was so enhanced, and all the madness of it. And at this point, I was only like maybe less than an hour into my trip, but it felt like I'd been there for like so long, for such a long time. And I remember there was just a puddle of water that had been dripping down onto the bench, and I just had my hand in it, and I was just splashing my hand about in it, and I felt so fed up. That makes sense. I just felt so fed up. Like I couldn't see any significance in being a human being. I remember looking at the houses, and the houses were about 100 meters in front of me, and they were all just like waving around like this, and then like jitter and things like that. And I thought I must be at the peak of my trip, and it was, I don't know, I just heard a bang. I think it's the cat. It was just all very strange. I just had the realization that I'm no more important than the ground around me or the things around me. And well, that's how it felt anyway. Like it's all down to subjective view of whether you think humans are more superior than a piece of grass. But I don't know. Anyway, so I decided to walk home, and I don't know. I remember I had some music on, and I was like, I don't really want to go down the allotments again. So I walked down the new estate way, and so I was listening to music, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe Glass Candy. That's what it was, because I thought that's positive music, so maybe it'll help bring me up a little bit. And kinda did. But anyway, I got home. My mum was in. She was like, "Oh, you alright, Steph?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like I was dying inside, but I was okay because I didn't want to hurt her for taking the substance. And anyway, I just went upstairs and I talked to my sister for a little bit. We had some conversations, and obviously, like, she wasn't tripping, and she's never tripped, so she doesn't really understand what goes on inside your mind and how intense it can be. But anyway, we just had a few little conversations, and it was sort of interesting. But I remember thinking, like, because when I trip, I feel hypersensitive to the emotions of the people around me. And I remember looking sad, and I guess it was a slight bit of disappointment, because obviously I've taken a drug, and that's going to affect the people around me who care about me. So yeah, but anyway, she said she was okay, so after talking for about half an hour, which cheered me up a bit, I just went and sat in my bedroom and tried to go to sleep. And I don't know, I closed my eyes, and my mum was playing some, I can't remember what it's called, it's like shamanic healing music, downstairs, and I could just hear it in the background. And as I had my eyes closed, I still felt like I wanted to escape the trip, but I was sort of more able to deal with it. So pretty much for the next like 3-4, no, it must have been about 4 or 5 hours of me tripping, I was just laying down upstairs with my eyes closed, listening to this music in the distance, and I could hear it in a completely different way. Like it wasn't like because she plays this sort of music a lot, and it wasn't like the same as it usually is. I could hear all these different dimensions to it, and it was so strange. Yeah. Anyway, when it was over, I was like, I thought I was going to be stuck in that mindset forever, and I was sort of relieved when it ended. But I didn't get any sleep, and I had college the next day, so I went to college, and I was sat there like humble to the idea of even, I don't know. I was just so like astonished in a way. I don't know if astonished is the right word. Perhaps caught up in my own mind the night before that I was just so aware, overly aware. Like I was getting all these after effects from the trip and the sleep deprivation. I'm losing my voice. And yeah, it was a very strange night. I remember listening to music the day before, and I couldn't listen to certain songs in the car because I was listening to the lyrics, and when I was on my trip I realised how susceptible humans are to subconscious programming, and some of the lyrics in these songs were like, I remember one of the songs, it was like running away, talking about running away. It was like the amount of people who've heard this song, which is probably millions right now, they've all got this idea in the back of their mind about running away. And now I'm always conscious of song lyrics and the way a song, what type of music I listen to. Not as conscious as that night or the morning after, but yeah, a lot more. So anyway, pretty long video right now, so I think I'm gonna end it off there. If you've got any questions then or inquiries, then leave them down in the comment section, and yeah, I'll see you all later. Bye.